The purpose of renunciation, to understand the Dhamma. Buddhas are coming to this world to make us understand, true nature. What do we have to understand? In Vedic society, a lot of these things, what Buddha taught, he learned. Remember, as a child, he was learning, because private tuition master was there, Brahmin was there, right? Asita. He come and was teaching. Only the royal princess and the other Brahmins, they were the one who was educating at the time. So Prince Siddhartha learned from a teacher. What he learned was that, what is that? Veda. 3 Vedas at the time. If you see at the Sela Sutta like places, those Brahmins were, very experts in their Vedic tradition. Rig, Yajur, Saman. There are 3 Vedas at the time of the Buddha. The other 4th one, and Brahmanism, Upanishads come later on. These are ancient, that Vedic Vedanta are very interesting too. Many things that Buddha they talk about. Closer things were there. But Buddha is that's why, chief priest, Dr. Kesri Daman, he wrote a book, Flower of Mankind. If you go back to that, pick up that booklet, somewhere it should be. That's why he talk about it. Buddha is the flower in the humanity. Because things were there. That's why all those Hindu traditions, they put Buddha as the 10th, Buddha also under their umbrella, Hinduism. So if you read, you can see that he learned those things, but he did not copy. But idea is, if there's something truth, but they could not penetrate through. That was the difference. So, but he went beyond that. Buddhists are coming to this world to explain or make you understand anicca, dukkha and anatta. That nature. For that reason he renounced, and also for us, we can, it's not easy. Remember, giving up is not easy. But you have to be happy for this week that you have make that decision and you are committed. You are determined to practice these few days as a renunciant. Even you are here as upasika, same thing. How much bonds that you have? I believe many things, many responsibilities. So you always postpone things. So much postponement. Even though sometimes, suppose now if you had a child and the child is sick, somebody is taken care of. So you are bonded to that person, and if that person becomes sick suddenly, what happened to you? Can you do it? You give up what you wanted to do. That's most of the time what happens. But in that sense, all of you are very lucky. You should be very happy, joyful about it. Being able to come, make that decision and come and participate in this. So renunciation is not easy thing. So we have to have practice. This practice could be continue in our lives, as Buddha said. According to many of those sutras, I'm sure that this may not be your first time. This may not be your first time who have become monks, get the taste of it. You may have done that, or else you may have seen and wanting to do that. Maybe you planted the seed long time ago. I was so happy as you were, at the time of, the interviewing, that some of you have great ideas. Just to learn and improve myself. Not to boost your ego, remember that. You are not doing this to boost your ego. Oh, I did that. Be happy. Not to show off, we are not doing anything to show off to the world. All these beautiful things you do, you become happy. You develop your skillfulness. That is what we call as kusala. We have to be skillful. So letting go is to do that. So renunciation is there are a lot of things we can pick up from Buddha's discourses. But one thing that we see is nekkhamma sankappa in the Eightfold Path. It comes. Nekkhamma, letting go. There are few things in there. Avyapada sankappa, avihimsa sankappa. So we let go of, by practicing. So these things are to practice everyday life. Sometimes what we do is we do learn things, enjoy things, but from hereafter, whatever you learn, try to pick up something to add into your life. Just tiny bit. So that's a change. That is also letting go. You are letting go of one of the habits that you have. So that's a skill. Then you can be happy. Oh, wow, I've made my change. I've made my, it's a hard work. If you are not determined, if you are not mindful, you cannot do this. I believe there's one of the booklet by Bhikkhu Bodhi and on this renunciation. Either one of the articles that he wrote. So even that kind of person also kind of renunciant. Why? I think you know the story of the Bhikkhu Bodhi. He's an American. He finished his PhD. After finishing his PhD, what did he do? He followed the monk, where a senior monk whom he had met some time ago, and he went to Sri Lanka and became a monk. So what is the point of working hard and earning a PhD? So he could see, listening to Dhamma, he could see something more attractive. So he gave up. Not only that, giving up. Now how much are we benefiting from that? How much world is benefiting from that? He always, simplifying this Tripitaka. The Middle and Majjhima Nikaya, he completed, and Anguttara Nikaya, he completed now. So greatly benefiting other people. In that sense, that also kind of very important, great renunciation. Otherwise, if he had clinged to his title, doctor, right? PhD means educationally, you are a doctor. So you can boost your ego and you can do either as a professor or somewhere else, you can work and earn your living. He could have spent that. So in that sense, there are many people, many monks who have renounced, really renounced, for the benefit of himself as well as the others. There are many monks in that sense. They too dedicated their life for the benefit of others. And they are willing to share. They are ready to share that Dhamma with the others. If I talk about me, if I do that, I'm not mostly going around, and mostly I go around to teach children, thinking just to plant the seed in their life. We see the value of Dhamma, and we cannot forcefully change people, but they must be able to do it by themselves. They are doing it by themselves, but we have to share that as they could understand it, so they would benefit. So all of us could be people who are helping others by renouncing, giving a nice impression. So see the value of this. If we can talk to someone, if somebody is asking, looking at your behavior, the way you behave, oh, you are not the person who used to be before. What made you change? Then what you can say? You can share some Dhamma with them. That sharing could be, helping other people to learn. So therefore, Nekkhamma is so vast and so wide. Renunciation, concept-wise, is not something very small, but many different ways. And in the Tripitaka, let me, if I could find something for you. I forgot to mention that sensuality, karma, letting go of our desires that we are connected to. I remember about a month ago, young man who considered himself as a Buddhist is practicing. He has given up a lot of things. And yet he was confessing that so much of desire, sensual pleasure, is a very hard thing, very hard work, he mentioned. So I believe that all of you have so much of experience, difficulty this. Thoughts are arising, popping up in your mind. It's not only for you, maybe even to, renunciants could have experienced that difficulties. But Buddha said, when you have such feelings, he asks us to, talk to yourself. You are the one. There are several discourses that Buddha mentioned. So they blame. He used to do that, and he was asking monks to do it too. Blame yourself. Moga Purisa means senseless man or empty, foolish man. And what are you doing? What are you thinking? This is not, you are not supposed to do this. You are in robe, you are in practicing. So that such a way that you have to, advise or just disgrace that, you address your own weakness. So that is how he encouraged. There are particular sutras that he was asking monks to do it. So why he was doing that? That is not with anger, but addressing yourself. You see your weakness, and that is the reason why he was, guiding us into such a, in a way, it's harsh. Be harsh on you. Simply to encourage you to practice. That is the reason why he is doing it. I think some of you may have read such, we know that you are reading and you are learning Dhamma, and those kind of, discourses. I can't remember now the name of that, but several places are there. As he was, talking to monks, encouraging monks. So he always said that, I know that you can do it. He was not a preacher. I always say that he was a practitioner. Preachers can preach but not practice. Buddha yathavadi tathakari. As he said, that is what he was doing. He did what he said. So therefore he was sharing his experiences, remember. So about renunciation, how he was encouraging was that because using his own he saw that weaknesses. So we see that in ourselves. So then we definitely would be able to do it. Hard work. Remember, don't think that this is easy work. It's hard work. Knowing it hard, you have to have a great determination. With the determination, with the compassion, you can do it. So renunciation goes, as Buddha said and Buddha did. So sensual pleasures could be most difficult things. Sensual desires. Kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. From that, so we can see that the Tanha, Trishna. This is a hard thing to let go. We are attached to things. Sensuality. But once we see something, we cling in our mind, sitting it there. Right? Certain pictures we take, sit in us. Cannot forget. Certain sounds we take, sit in us. Certain tastes that we experience, sitting in us. This, remember that we are operated by these 5 senses. Nothing else. These 5 senses. These sensual pleasures, if we could let go, little by little, for that it will not happen automatically. It will need some push. Address yourself. Then you can apply it. Let go of. So let me go. Okay, I passed that. So I don't need it. There was the story called Makadeva, king. Some remembrance must be, because I remember I have in our main shrine hall, normally in Sri Lanka, wherever you go, you can see many pictures, stories, and on the walls. That's called wall paintings. In those wall paintings, we have 10 perfections and related stories related to Buddha's life. From that, we learn. That's the ancient, very ancient audio-visual system. Audio part is buy from your parents. Visual system is there on the walls. So as we go to the temple, they explain it to us. So through that we learn. So we remember it. So I remember in our main shrine we have Makadeva Jataka. That is the story of that time period. They had a long lifespan. And this king has ordered or asked his barber to show him, whenever you see gray hair, show it to me. So when he saw it, when the barber saw it, then he picked it up and gave it to him, put it in his hand. Oh, that day quickly he decided to go and practice, become a renunciant, ascetic. As he promised, he did that because he enjoyed such a long time, sensual pleasures. But as soon as his barber did that, gave it to him, he decided to leave his home and gave his, throne to his son and asked him, you take care of it. Now it's time for me to leave. Because he said, it's a Mara Duta. Mara, evil one. I'm getting closer to the evil one. So they're saying so, the story says, he went to the forest and started practicing. There are beautiful stories, a lot of them. I was looking at something nice, Gatha, but I cannot remember it. Addressing the Buddha, he, a lot of time that as a person who was making effort, as a bodhisattva, he was making effort to practice, but Mara is always coming and disturbing him. But this concept of Mara sometimes, academically, you see it as these are his own projections. But it could be so, but it could be otherwise too. How do we know? We cannot say it. However, having such experiences, he put into those things for us to learn, think about it. That is the Dhamma for us to reflect on, and then we can practice. To strengthen our practice, that was the idea. And even sometimes when you see Theragatha and Therigatha, all those things are their own experiences. So those experiences they share with us to through that we can have our own practice strengthened by learning from them, from those experiences. We can make it our own experience too. You can reflect on, what is this, or do I have such thing? So always we can look back to our own practices and check on us. Check and balance is always important, remember. So these are, remember, hard work, not easy, but do not, I'm not saying this to discourage you. I want you to understand this hard work so we can do it. Important thing is you have to have compassion and determination. Be mindful on, this is renunciation. In other words, we call it emancipation, liberating ourselves. Our effort is to liberate ourselves, free ourselves. Free from what? Bonds, that strings that we attach to. Hard work, but possible. Slowly we can. Sometimes, if you look at, I think whoever have children, you can see this. Some of you, what you do is, even though your children grown up, still what you do? You are expecting them to behave according to your thoughts. Right? Otherwise you get upset. Or they got married, they don't pay attention what I say. What is that? Attachment, right? You didn't let go. You still think for the parents, you think still they are children, your children. But they're grown up, they go and they have their own life. You can liberate yourself, letting them go and let them live their life. Giving them right understanding in the sense of when the suitable time, you should be guiding them to live a righteous life. So then you can be happy. Oh, I have done my part. Now they are their own. So you can advise them, okay, after you go, but if you need any help, come, feel free to come. So you have given freedom to them to approach you for advice, for guidance. But don't expect if you're expecting that throughout the lifetime they should live their life according to the way my own wishes, that's wrong. You didn't let go of them. You are still holding on to. That's very painful. You are suffering from it, don't you? By holding on to that, watching them always, or they did something wrong, they are not right, criticizing them. What are you doing is you are still with a strong attachment, you are trying to make them the way that you want. No, let them live their own. The appropriate timing. So you given the right instructions, guided them, you appropriately raise them. So then you don't have to worry about it. They know right and wrong. At least they have certain dhamma at part of their dhamma in learning, sending to dhamma schools and things that you have provided them. From that they learn. Or else you have to have very compassionate mind. Then they always approach to you whenever they need. They see that my parents are, good advisors. They were always wishing our happiness, our success. Once they understand, they always come back to you, asking for guidance. So then you can help. But if you are trying to control them, that means you are still clinging to them and maybe your big ego is, attachment that makes you suffer from things. You are suffering because of your own attachment. So that we have to let go. That is also renunciation. Remember, renunciation is so huge word. A lot of practice, a lot of things that we have to do. in everyday life. This is not for you to do as, person who is here on today, but these things should be in everyday life. So that's why I said, Buddha statue is embodiment of all these, perfections. So those things, we should be refreshing our memories, what he did to be the Buddha. Those qualities, those virtues are helping us to have a righteous life, for livelihood for ourselves too. Successful life for ourselves too. So whatever the goals that we have, it could be spiritual, it could be day-to-day life. So all of those things we can do. We can mix. As you come to a certain age, we can balance ourselves, material wealth as well as spiritual wealth. We have to improve our spiritual wealth. We slowly come to understanding the meanings of what we are doing. You start seeing it, and then you can put yourself into practice and be spiritually successful. For that reason, also you need this, renunciation is very helpful for you. So, see, this is one of the places that, he's addressing himself. "O greed, I have seen your source. You arise from my thoughts of pleasant objects of sense. No more will I think of any pleasant objects of sense. Then, O greed, you will arise no more." So, when you see it, you can address in such a way. You must be able to see your own mind, what is happening there. How can you see it? Being mindful, right? Mindfulness we have to practice. This is the key. That's why Buddha said, mindfulness is the key to success. So therefore, definitely we have to, these few days, we have to be practicing, developing our skill of staying in mindful. As well as, silent meditation would be helping you to do that. Let's try to do it in our everyday life. I think I will stop there, and maybe I like to hear from you. Any questions? So we can continue in discussion, so we still have time.
Bhante,
yes.
I would just like your comment on this, okay? Is it considered an attachment if you have very strong urgency and feelings to strive to quit the samsaric world?
Some people can think in such a way, but your attachment to get rid of samsara would not come, this with no reason. You want to get rid of samsara, that's what you meant, right?
Yes.
So,
consider an attachment?
No. I heard it, yes. So I would not. Some people may be, because the person who did not, maybe for you to have such, concept or idea, is because you have read, you have, you learned the Dhamma, and from the Buddha's, there are a lot of things to read, and from there Buddha encouraged this. Buddha beautifully said, I sometimes don't say those things to new people, because, they get scared. Wow, because our desires are many people. Do you remember Upaka in the story of the Buddha, in the Noble Quest, Discourse of Noble Quest? There's a Ajivaka, one of the samana, during the Buddha's time, there are many categories were there, samanas and ajivakas. So this young man, He was the first person who met the Buddha as Buddha decided to teach. He was leaving that Bodhi tree and going to go to Benares. Why? Buddha could see that those 5 ascetics who were helping him, they were there in the Benares, Isipatana Grove. So when he was about leaving, just about starting his journey, this man comes. Then he paid respect. He was very pleased. He was very serene, very peaceful. I see something special in you. He asked, who is your teacher? What are you teaching? It's beautiful. In the Discourse of Noble Quest, you can read it. I always read it in Pali. I enjoy it. It reminds, very comfortable for me. I read it. And then he says, he says, who are you? Kind of introduction he needed. And the Buddha said, Anantajina. I'm better to call Anantajina, victorious one. He was not, as many people describe. It says in the Gatha, he was not, you read in another place also, Gandhabba, I was not a deva, I was not a divine being, and they said, it's better for me to call, I do not have a teacher, it's better for you to call me as Anantajina, victorious one. Because he did not learn, of course he learned as a lay person, he learned certain point, but he did not learn things to be the Buddha. He awakened by himself. That is why we call it Samma Sambuddha, fully enlightened one. And his sharing, his experience, plenty of experiences there in the Tripitaka, in the Sutta Pitaka especially. And when you learn it, when you read it, you start thinking about it. So then it comes to, that's very true. What Buddha said is true. So I really, if I can make it short, my journey of samsara, I may like it, as you said. It's not an attachment. Perhaps, maybe, this is what we are practicing. That is what he practiced. To be the Buddha, setting his mind. Remember the stories that we learn. As ascetic Sumedha, he met with the Buddha Dipankara, right? And then he decided, not only myself, there are many beings in this world who are going through these cycles. So let me understand it and share it with the other beings. That is why that's called Bodhisattva concept. This concept in Mahayana tradition is a very great concept. Bodhisattva idea is very important than the Buddha in the Mahayana tradition. Why? Because I want to save all sentient beings. True. As a Bodhisattva, he thought that. But later on, after he becoming enlightened being, he knew that it's impossible. Even though Buddha wanted to do it, if you are not qualified, how can I make you understand it? So we should be qualified people. We are not qualified, that's why we are here in the samsara yet. So therefore, even though Buddha came to know, as a Bodhisattva he did not know that. So you remember, also it comes in the Noble Quest discourse, mid-length saying either 25 or 26. You can search it on the internet and read it. It's beautiful. English is not that sweet, but Pali for us is very sweet. Yes. Because you have to have a lot of patience when you read these discourses in English. Read it patiently. Don't try to complete it overnight. Read one page, at least, a night. If you read one page, you can slowly let it digest in you. That would help you to understand. So, in the Noble Quest, he says that talk about. I lost my train of thought too. It's beautiful, with what he presented. His experiences he shared, and for us to, as we think about it, it's digesting and it makes sense. because, Sahampati Brahma comes and invited him to teach. Remember? He invited him because he thought that sometimes some people say, remember now, some people say, oh, it's an insult to the Buddha because Sahampati Brahma sees this, his thought. I don't think it's an insult. Because as a Brahma being, you go, if you do practice, now suppose now you are Anagami state. Where would you born? Suddhavasa. There you would be practicing, continue to practice, and there you be understand and you attain to enlightenment. So, if that being, not everybody, some, they may be able to see what Buddha thinking. Because Buddha was not reluctant. He was reflecting on what he realized. As he was reflecting on it, so he thought that this is really, what I realized is really deep. Could there be people, they will be, are they going to understand it? So such a way he was reflecting on this Dhamma, reflecting on his own realization. That's the time that he came and asked this question, Bhante, please teach what you realize. There are people with little dust in their eyes. They would be able to understand. Without your guidance, without your help, they may be, waste their life, their opportunity that you have. Therefore, please help them to understand it. Teach the Dhamma. So that was the invitation from the Brahma. And I like to share with you, there's some other people look differently on this. And because that in the Brahmanic society, Brahma is the Godhead. So therefore, you made up this story. Some people, who do not have faith, who do not have saddha, and they have different presentations. So therefore, we should not disturbed by those kinds of attitudes. With patiently and compassionately to yourself, start reading them. Slowly, try to improve your understanding. Dhamma is not easy, as Buddha himself mentioned. There are always, we think, we read, we start thinking, what is he trying to teach us? We know what he is trying to, but certain things, language-wise, there are, difficulties you may find. Not always sweet, but reality is always, remember, is bitter, because you don't want to accept it. We want to push it back. Okay, there are some people. So I was telling you the story of Upaka. Upaka, after listening to the Buddha, what did he do? He went away. It could be so. He nodded his head and he went away. Where was he going? To his girlfriend. In today's language. It didn't mention there. That's where he went. But later on he come back. But my point was that, what I want to show you was that even though he had an opportunity to meet with the Buddha, he didn't have meritorious power to listen to Dhamma. That is, I feel sad about that young man. Meeting the Buddha, he didn't get a chance to listen to Dhamma because his mind was clinged. He was not renunciated. His mind was so much attachment to his partner. So he was just listening. It could be so. He nodded and he went away. So now, for instance, we also could have been there at the time of the Buddha. But we are still in the samsara. Why? Lack of merit, skillfulness. We all we are short of skillfulness, kusala. So therefore, we have to, as much as possible, as you are maturing in their life, think of this. I would not ask young people to do this, but They have a time, they can learn it. By learning, by experiencing, gathering the experiences, read the Dhamma. Reading is not, waste. That you will be sitting, those things would be sitting in your mind. That's what I do with the children too. So just, it should be there in their minds. Buddha is so compassionate, and he shared his understanding and experiences. All those things, what he shared was his experiences, remember. That Dhamma, what we call as Dhamma, is Buddha's experiences. It's beautiful. You can do the same things. Like if you take Vitakka Santana Sutta in Middle and Saying. Middle and Saying, remember, Middle and Saying, very important book. Of course, others are also important, but a lot of things you can pick up from there. Yes?
The book is Noble Request or what?
Noble Quest.
Quest.
That's not a book, that's a discourse in Middle and Saying.
Oh, it's not from Sutta?
Sutta, yeah.
Under which Sutta?
In the Middle and Saying, Noble Quest is a sutta. Arya Pariyesana Sutta.
Under Majjhima.
Majjhima. In Pali, it's called Arya Pariyesana Sutta, or Noble Quest.
Bhante, during meditations, there, arise a lot of thoughts. Can I apply this letting go? But the thoughts keep coming up. So when I let go, how do I let go? By focusing back on the breath?
So now we have to look at nowadays in the current world, there are so many different teachers and different methods you may be here. And all these things, they create techniques to keep your mind here in the present moment. Simply if you look at, what Buddha did, as Buddha is our role model, so he did, if you read the Anapanasati Sutta, right? Satipatthana Sutta. So what is happening there? He was, these different 16 steps there, right? So looking at things, so we come back to breath. So we use that. First effort is to develop our skill, keeping our mind here in the present moment. So Buddha did that so many different ways. So as a truth seeker, he saw that a lot of different ways that his mind, and then he put into different categories. And first, he was doing the Anapanasati. He developed that, tried to be here. Then in one particular discourse, he mentioned that he putting his whole effort. He stopped his breathing, even breathing sometimes. He stopped, so it start giving him a headache. And he felt like, he was holding on to the breath. I think you maybe remember.
I don't recall that.
Yeah, because he stopped breathing and he held on to it. And how much painful it is, he experienced, because there were the other people who were practicing such things. And therefore, using that, list what he heard, and he experimented. So finally, he came back to his own breath to be in the present moment. So that's a deeper silence meditation. But question is, as he was doing it, he came to a state called samadhi. That samadhi he brings into samma samadhi. Samadhi is done the yogis. Remember, prior to the Buddha, there were many yogis who practiced, like Alara Kalama, Uddakarama, those two teachers. I think it's the same. If you read this Noble Quest, there you can see it. He mentioned that there are 9 jhanic states. 4 of them were up to samadhi. Then after that, akasananchayata viññāñchaya. It's beautiful steps, but they still couldn't see what is important, necessary thing. So he experimented with them and he did gain those skills what they had. And then at the end, 9th step was that Nirodha Samapatti. Nirodha Samapatti. When he come to that 9th step, what happened? There are descriptions about Nirodha Samapatti. What is that meaning is that you are not dead, you are not alive. Very subtle. What I feel scientifically, I think, is when you come to that mental state, you don't need that much of oxygen. I will share with you the names of those suttas where you can hear about those steps of meditation. And one is coming in the middle in the Noble Quest discourse. That's something very important one. How did he search? What did he search? What did he gain? That story part is a very important one. And he himself explained it. And the other one, another place is, I think, Dhammadinna Therani. I have to get find the name. I know that there is a beautiful name. She was asked by Nanda 40 questions, so she explained all those things beautiful. In that description is there. I'll find it out and share it with you. So your question was that how to get rid of these, if there is a thoughts or attachment.
Yeah, Bhante, because the thing is, Anapanasati, because it says that breathe in, breathe out, but it's like I'm doing it very mechanical. It's like, it's like, okay, I breathe in, I breathe out. It's like, it become very mechanical, and it's become my control. It's not like natural. So probably I'm wrong in that way of.
Are you reciting it?
I didn't recite. I just focus, but then I have to breathe it. Breathe in, breathe out. It's like mechanical, but from what I read, it's like that's how do I go into that?
So as we do practice meditation, of course, purpose is to keep our mind here with the breath. Why the breath? I start thinking about why did Buddha choose the breath? So that is our lifeline. Our own breath. Anybody can practice. Doesn't have to use, this is Buddhist meditation. We don't have to make it such, categorized in such a way. But, so our own breath, we can, only action that we do when we sit to meditate, we are sitting and breathing. That's only physical action. So this is, we are watching our own breath. If we could settle our mind with the breath, so that would be helping us. It's not something distracting. You are closing your eyes maybe. Sometimes you are in a safe place, being in a safe place if you do this. So your discipline will bring you to be with your breath. When you are not disciplining yourself, your mind goes here, mind goes there, attached to something. So sometimes people ask, is that really what Buddha asked us to do? We can try it. So this is something Buddha did. We know that he was coming into that deeper concentration. If he said that, that means we can do that too. Slowly, we don't have rush. Simple, natural breath, but it should be full breath. Don't have to be lazy. Sometimes we become lazy to breathe in. Or, as the rhythm goes in, so we may not need to breathe in heavily. As a pushing and action that you pushed yourself. So slowly as we breathe in and breathe out, we can see it all the way going up here. Like Burmese monks would be, especially focusing on their, belly, rising and falling belly, rising and falling stomach. They are watching. All these things are to keep our mind on control. So it's hard work. Our mind, one moment we hear, sometimes just without knowing it goes somewhere else. But whenever you are aware of it, what we ask us, bring it back to your breath. So we can read Satipatthana Sutta and see that description. There are a few stages, of course. Breath is only one part of it. Kayagata Sati, as a physical action. That is a small portion of that particular discourse. So we develop that skill of keeping your mind on it, and afterwards what you do is you apply that skill in everyday action. So that's become an vipassana in sense. So because mindfulness is not only for sitting and doing it, what you develop by sitting and spending that 1 hour time or 45 minutes or 30 minutes or even 1.5 hours or 2 hours, some people they do longer time, you apply that skill in everyday life even when you are touching the bottle of water. So with that sensitivity, with that understanding, you keep doing it. The reason, now, I like to remind you another discourse. What Buddha asked us to do? Because to protect our mind, to guard our mind, all these things were done for that, right? Because our mind would be sitting somewhere and enjoying it, indulging it, even though I'm sitting to meditate here. My mind, I'm sitting here physically, my mind is somewhere indulging in thoughts what I experienced yesterday. Or what I'm fantasizing about future. So that would most of the time, but don't discourage by that. At least you came to know about it. Be aware of it. Then come back to breath. You keep practicing. So these are effort. We all do practice. And that definitely will be, one day we will have that deeper realization. Thoughts we see, okay, don't be discouraged and don't be unhappy, don't fight with your mind, because that doesn't bring anything to us. But at least we can see what is going through in this mind. That is, remember in the Karnima Sutta it says Bahukicca, Appakicca, he says, lot of involvement our mind has. Karniyamatta kusala yantan santam padavis abhisamit sakko ujuca suju suvacho chassa mudu anattimani santussakocha nipakocha appagabbo kulesu ananugiddo nachakuddang samachare kinchen vinyu paripadu sukino vakimi. So that is the way that we practice in the meditation, but we should have less involvement. I think, we are involved with many things, but if we can apply our skill in all those places, so what is happening is we are in our mind too busy. When it's too busy, it's hard, it's difficult. So therefore Buddha encouraged appakicca, less involvement. Less involvement. So it's hard. As a living person, you are living in the day-to-day life not with so much of luxuries, but we have to live earn our living and take care of the family members, a lot of responsibilities. When that happens, our mind is busy, definitely. So mind runs to that or this. Just simply notice it, but don't give up your practice. Seeing it, hoping for one day I will be free from all these bonds that I have, I may be able to. So at least when you are having that touch, when you keep practicing it every day, don't think it is meaningless. There's a meaning. There's a time. That skill would bring you fruit. Having that such positive hope, if you keep practicing, definitely, that is fruitful. That would be fruitful. So it's hard, difficult work. Sometimes maybe, even myself, I think sometimes, I go through, there are in Anguttara Nikaya, many suttas, he's talking about meditation. Many places they are talking. Not only Anguttara Nikaya, but mostly I do use that, there's a shorter discourses. For that reason I do, there's a Samadhi Sutta, Jhana Sutta, Jnananga Sutta, so many places. Even Patama Jhana Sutta, Dutiya Jhana Sutta, they are very brief, no details. Yet he spoke about it. We cannot say that Jhana Buddha did not teach. No, he did. So Samatha and Vipassana, both sides he spoke about, and he encouraged us. But definitely Samatha is needed for us to train our mind. If we have trained in that, we can apply that skill in the, our Vipassana insight portion of it. So that's, both sections are important. There was a time I had a very misunderstanding. So I thought Buddha did not talk about samatha. He did. That is what he did practice. Of course, we know that as ascetic, he did that with going with the other people. So Buddha spoke all those, experiment what he did, what sharing he did, it for us to understand, for us to make effort, to encourage us, to purify our minds. For that reason he did that. So during this time, let's explore a little bit more on meditation. I was happy to do that actually. I would share some more, discourses in that. As I told that, I know that all of you have different experience. Share them. That experience was very helpful for others to understand what are we going through. Yes.
Yeah, just some thought. As you mentioned that the pain and sorrow is always in one's mind, in the corner of one's mind, and when things, similar incidents occur again, and the feelings resubmerge again, right? It doesn't really, for me, those feelings means it doesn't really let go, and the fact, knowing that in spite of a lot of meditation practice or a lot of other practices, I felt that the letting go is not entirely letting go. It's just like, the pain become less, but it's sort of putting aside the pain at the corner again, So when we say let go, does it mean that you have no feelings anymore? That, the thought of the pain and sorrow is no longer have any triggering. Yeah.
So, letting go of our thoughts and our painful feelings. Remember I mentioned that we have to have compassion towards us. And when we look at compassionately, and when if you can let go of that attachment that you have, even the negative things are attachment. You are attached to, suppose your friend betrayed you. So you're very good friends, But for some reasons, at some point of your life, your friend betrayed you. What happens to you? It could be a lot of hurt, so much pain in there, because you trusted her, and yet at something you got disappointed. Now the problem is that you cannot forgive that person. So therefore, you have attached to that unpleasurable experience you had. You understand what I'm saying? So that unpleasurable, you are still attached because, oh, my friend betrayed me, so hurt. Painfully, you're holding it in your mind. So we should find a way to get rid of that. Forgive that person. It's true, my friend did that because of her ignorance, or as greed that she had. Let's say, for young people's stories like that, Sarah, sometimes, so you're same age person, so you had somebody you liked, let's say, young man. What happened was that your friend also liked, but so she wanted to bypass you and become friendly with him. That is why you are angry. You lost your person that you are desiring for, liking, you made friendship with you, but that friend somehow because of jealousy, so made up a story and she tried to own him. That's what she did. So now you are really hurt because you lost your friend. Two friends. So your girlfriend betrayed you and you lost your boyfriend, let's say. So you're angry now. Even though you are two good friends, you became angry. That hurt sitting in yourself. So you must find a way to get rid of that pain. What's the way? Forgiving that person. Due to her greed for that physical appearance or for something in that person, she went, so she betrayed me. It's okay. So you have to consult within you. You have to see through the Dhamma. So if we see through the Dhamma, that ignorance, that greed that person has, so Buddha spoke about it. This is what he meant. So still, so you have to practice very compassionately. Compassion is so much there. So I forgive that person. Compassion comes from we start from the metta. You cannot jump into compassion first. Metta start with a smile. That when you become stronger, when you're stronger in that, compassion comes there. So look at how deep metta is, looking at the simile that Buddha used. In the Metta Sutta, Buddha used the simile, like a mother risking her own life to save her only child, we must be able to pervade loving kindness towards all beings. But look at it. When we think of it, are we there? We are all kind of people, right? We are all kind, very kind. Kindness is all of it. You practice metta always. But when we go to apply, but do we have that skill of applying that kindness like a mother? What kindness you have to your child, can you have that same feeling towards all beings? We are not there yet. But did Buddha practice it? Yes. He did not tell us, he did not encourage us to do anything what he didn't experience. So he did perfected metta. Also remember one of the perfections. He perfected it. That is why he could tame the elephant using his mind, focusing on that one particular being. That's so much energy in that. So therefore, we have to have that skill. We have to every day, at least. And also remember, metta is the way to get rid of our anger, ill will, aversion, hatred, whatever the names you call it. The deeper version is hatred, I believe. Milder versions are all this, aversion, slight anger sometimes you get. So that we have to get rid of. So therefore, we have to have that skill to overcome such situations. Otherwise, it's hurting. We must be able to forgive. Without forgiving, you are not healed. When you could forgive that person, you healed yourself. That helped you. That helped all of us in many different situations. Okay? So it's for all of us. Her question is for not only for her, for all of us to work on our skills. Skill of practicing metta. Skill of forgiving other people. So that's positively working for us. And we are not hurting anybody. We are not hurting ourselves. Otherwise, what we do is, with having such negative feeling, hurtful feeling, we are hurting ourselves more. So therefore, we have to pervade that. That's the reason why we pervade loving kindness first ourselves and to the other beings. I think we will stop there for today. Tomorrow we will start again with, I think Bhante Vinita would be in the morning session, so we will be, discussing things. So as we gather here, please feel free to ask questions. You are offering a Dhammadana to the others, because this is our opportunity for us to share Dhamma, what you know. From your, difficulty or experiences. So we always sharing, we apply the Dhamma into that. So that's what we did. Okay. So anytime what we discuss, if you find out something different, come and talk as in our session, because 2 hours is long time. So we can discuss. That is the way to learn. So together we are learning and making ourselves to practice. So wish you all the success. Today you may be tired. Tomorrow also we have to do a lot of work, getting up at 5:30 in the morning. And then 6 o'clock we are going to pagoda to practice our puja, chanting. That's also part that we have to do. I believe during this Novitiate program, during this time, if we can learn Metta Sutta. Remember that we are planning to do, in the morning we do Pali, evening let's try to do it in English. So at least then it comes to your mind, some part of it, with the translation. Without translation, evening let's try to recite I'm not good reciter in English, but we can try. So we encourage, Bhante and also Bhikkhuni would be there. Okay? So say, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.